Well, everybody, welcome to another episode of According to Flint, my podcast. And as usual, bringing you a little Western sports, and happy to welcome, taking advantage of the fact that we have some guys in Billings, Montana. And I will also take advantage of the fact that this guy said yes. A man who, I'll say used to do more, been around. He's got the old man pass. Is that what we call it?
That's what they're calling it.
The old man pass. Two-time world champion. I'm going to say two-time world champion bull rider. I'm going to say the highest money earner in Western sports. How's that? Rodeo bull riding. Can I say that?
Yeah. That's
pretty close.
Well, that's what they told me.
Over $7 million riding bulls. He is the two-time world champion, Mr. JB Mauney. Thanks, man.
Anytime.
I do not take for granted the fact when I had a radio show, all that. If I call you, you always answer your phone. You always answer my messages. If I say, come on and say a few words, you always did it on radio. I called you and said, can you come out? Yeah, sure. I'm bringing a beer. He said, so I appreciate that, because I think you and I were talking before on our way out here. I did have to be your driver, your Uber, but there's a lot of young guys that'll say, I'm like, JB, I'm not going to do all the interviews. And that's a misnomer. That's not true. You're 33 years old. You've been around a while.
This is my 15th year.
15th year. You got to do stuff.
Well, that's what I told him. I heard one of them say, I'm just going to be like JB. I'm not doing no interviews. No. And I heard him tell him that, and I walked over there and I just tapped him and politely said, there's one difference between you and I. And he said, what's that? I said, you weren't around for the 10 years. I did everything they asked me to do when they asked me to do it, every single time, and never said no. I said, I have the right to say no. You don't.
You're never exclusive if you don't say no.
That's it.
Once in a while. But it is, we're as we do this, it's the Billings PBR. So you're in my town, and I told you I'm tired this week because when I'm in my hometown, you always got to be on. I've done radio, TV, newspaper. Now I'm not complaining about it, but it is, you get to a point in your career, you do got to sort that stuff out, don't you?
Oh yeah. What needs to be done and what they want you to do. And it's just years and years of doing the same thing over and over, and the 4 o'clock in the morning and getting up. And I always wondered why they did TV at 4:30 in the morning, because I figured the people that were up early enough to watch the TV at 4:30 in the morning were not coming to the bull riding that night.
Those are, yeah. But the good news for you in your day was you were still up.
Yeah.
So that was a great advantage to have.
That was perfect. Like I would just leave from where I was at and go straight to the interview.
Yeah. And we've talked about that, and I've talked to other people. You get to a point where, you had those days where you were still up when you had to meet in the hotel lobby at 4:30 in the morning, and you change your shirt, put your hat on,
a little clone on,
and it concerned a lot of PR people. But what's important is when those lights come on and they point to you, say, we're out of commercial, you got to do the right thing, right?
That's what I've told a lot of young guys. I said, you never let them see you sweat, and they have no idea what I'm talking about. But that's part of it. Well, makes no difference. My dad always told me when I was little, he said, when you show up, you handle your business. And that's how I've been my whole life. No matter what I was doing, no matter if I'd been up all night doing whatever, God knows whatever, when I showed up, I could switch it on, switch it off, take care of business, go back to doing whatever I was doing.
I've told young guys when they say, even when it comes to working out or whatever it is, I had a young guy not long ago say, I'm doing the JB Mauney thing, man. And I put my arm around him. Listen, there's only been a couple that can do what they do and be freaks in nature and still ride 90 pointers the next day. You know what, too? One of them's you. Who's the other one?
Justin McBride.
Justin McBride.
Now, where do you think I learned from?
And that's what you told me, that he was, everybody gets asked, who'd you look up to? Who was your role model? McBride, I've been through the generations. I've been through Ted Newsom, Tuff Hedeman, and then Michael Gaffney and Tater Porter and Luke Snyder and Justin McBride and Ross Coleman and you, and now this other generation. And for one, it's changed, but that was your guy. McBride was your guy.
Yeah, it was. I was fortunate enough. I came around at the time McBride was in his prime, so I got to watch what he was doing when he was winning world titles and being the badass he was. But then also I traveled around with guys, Brian Herman, Tater Porter, that had been there, did that. They knew the ropes and everything, and it helped me along in my career a lot faster than it should have, because I was one I was a loose cannon, there was no telling where I was going to wind up or what I was going to do. And they kind of corralled me, they just kind of buffed the edges, I guess.
You got to go to that line, and then you got to, somebody's got to scoop you up and say, grab the back of your shirt and pull you from falling off the cliff a little bit.
Yeah. Cause there was quite a few times I was hanging off that cliff, but
I forget, what's funny is I figured I've done 21 PBR World Finals. They, I believe the 20th was a big reunion, then the 25th, and there's guys that show up that I go, I forgot about him. Oh, Leslie Doyle, Reed Corder, Brian Herman. I shouldn't forget about him, but there was some really great bull riders. When you were 18, 19, 20, there were some guys that they're a little different breed. They're tough.
Oh yeah. Tough. I mean, it was back then was more the cowboy mentality, not so much the athlete mentality, the working out and staying in shape and eating right. It was just rough, tough, and do whatever it took to make the whistle.
Man, hate to say it, but it was kind of fun. And I said, hey, if we're doing a podcast with JB, can you sit here and sip a beer? Yeah. If I had one, but it was the wrong brand. I'm not going to put it. Sorry. Thanks a lot. But it was, remember the days, we talk a lot about it. You'd go in the arena, it'd be midnight and the locker room would still be full. Because when it was the Bud Light Cup, you see, it's been Bud Light Cup, Built Ford Tough Series, now the Monster Energy, Unleash the Beast. When it was the Bud Light Cup, people may not know this, there was tubs of Bud Light in the locker rooms waiting when we finished a show.
About 4 of them.
And so now I do believe there was some. Sorry, I had to adjust my chair. There was some negatives to that in a sense, maybe. Hey, we're athletes, we're this, whatever. I'll tell you, I really do miss that. I'll come in after a show. I'll kind of get cleaned up a little, wipe the sweat off, and I'll go up on the concourse and sign autographs for 45 minutes. When I come back down, I'm the last one there.
Oh yeah.
And there was a day when I'd come down, and I think there's some fellowship missing, some camaraderie. Well, that's where we became friends.
Cowboys sit around, they drink beer, they talk, they hang out.
There's no campfire, but there should be.
There's no campfire, so nobody hangs around anymore.
Yeah.
And I think, the PBR, there's nowhere else you can go and make this kind of money riding bulls. That's by far, there's head and shoulders above any other association. But, I think they've strayed away from, what makes bull riders. And when you got guys that you're friends with and you hang out with, you ride better. When they're there every weekend, they're helping you, they're doing this. And the guys I traveled with, they're all retired. So, I kind of sit in the locker room and I'm like, well, I just sit back there by myself. But, that's just watching Westerns, what you do at night. Build a campfire, sit around and talk.
Yeah.
Drink whiskey, beer.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's true. And that's the nature. I was talking about this today in an interview. I did a deal. I used to hang out, the guys, we all have that generation of guys that helped us. A couple guys that really helped me were Lloyd Ketchum and Joe Bumgardner.
Joe B.
Joe B. I'll never forget, we were at a rodeo and you always went to the stock trailer and had a beer at the rodeos, rodeos. It was 2 hours after the rodeo. We're still sitting there. And he looked around and he said, I love visiting. Just like that, like a little kid. Yeah. And you've been rodeoing lately.
Yep.
You're getting on as many bulls as you can. You love getting on bulls. So you've been going, you were Killdeer, North Dakota, and Dillon and Filer and Blackfoot. You're between Billings and Des Moines. You're going to some. But there is, no matter what my career does, and I'm a loyal company guy for the PBR. I love my job. I love the shows we do. Man, there's something about that rodeo.
Oh man,
road, isn't there?
Yeah, it's fun. You know, I was sitting there thinking, because it's been quite a few years since I just took off and drove. You know, when we were younger, when it was Casey Hayes, Brian Kenner, and all of us. I'm surprised we got anywhere, but
I'm surprised you're alive.
Yeah,
actually.
I am too. But you know, it's a truck and camper, and summertime. I mean, there was 3-4 months we stayed gone. I mean, you didn't know where we were at, you didn't know where we were going, and I mean, we just drove. And we bought that motor home the other day, and I put Samantha and Jagger in there, and boy, they were asleep in the back, and I was driving, and I thought, man, I miss this right here. Like, it was just wide open, no cars out through there, and I was running about 90 in that RV. I was thinking, yeah,
JB Mauney, RVer.
Yep.
The RV, I love the RV life.
I do too. I'm a KOA member now.
We stayed in KOA. Hey, when I started, people don't know this. When I started rodeoing, I don't know if I was married yet, but we would travel. We'd pulled KOA and had a 2-man tent. Then we had a camper on a pickup. Then we had a living quarters trailer. Everybody thinks you just jump right into this stuff.
Oh yeah, they don't. That's another thing. Like them guys that work out and say they're going to pull a JB. You go to South Texas and work for Phil Line for about 2 weeks. That'll make anybody want to ride bulls good.
So tell me about your relationship. Your father-in-law.
Yeah.
You're married to Samantha Line. Your father-in-law is Phil Line, who the old movie Great American Cowboy.
Yes, sir.
It's Larry Mahan and Phil Line following him through a season. Phil Line, he's the only guy to win the average title.
Calf roping and bull riding.
Calf roping and bull riding in the same year at the National Finals Rodeo.
I told him in an interview, not taking anything away from anybody else that's won all-around titles, but in my eyes, that's the last true all-around cowboy.
Yeah.
You work both ends of your inning.
Well, you know, in Canada, they have a high point and they have an all-around. The all-around's both ends of the arena. What is, I won't say, hey, do you get along with Phil Line, but what's your relationship? That's from everything I hear, because, and your brother-in-law, Shorty Gorham, same ranch. That's a tough man, Phil Line.
That is a real tough man. He's part camel. 1 bottle of water, lukewarm bottle of water, will last him like 14 hours. So if you go with him, you better pack your own beverages. And there's no telling. Like, he might say, hey, let's run over here and check on something, and you come back 6 hours later.
Yeah.
But there's one thing. He works, and he will work you. And that's what he told somebody. I rode a ditch witch for 109-degree weather and dug about 7,500 foot of water line. And somebody called him. He said, I'm just getting JB back in bull riding shape. I said, I don't know if you're getting me in bull riding shape, because all I'm doing is sitting on this thing, smoking cigarettes, riding it. But you're dang sure making me want it.
You know what? Funny. I'm an 80s guy. Not 80 years old, but the 80s. All I could think right there is Karate Kid. Oh, yeah. Remember the original Karate Kid? And he couldn't figure out why, wax on, wax off, paint the fence. That's what Phil Line. He's your,
And I promise you, if I'm up at a rodeo, he calls me every day.
He does.
Every day. You know, he rode and he did everything. And I realized real quick that bull riding was his. That's what intrigues him, because me and him get in the truck and drive 1.5 hours, and that's what we talk about is bull riding. Like, he loves bull riding and was just as good in the bull riding as he was calf roping, you know, the other events, but he liked bull riding. And, you know, when I'm at home, I try not to answer his phone calls, because he's not calling to check to see how I'm doing. He's calling to check to see if I'm not doing anything so he can work me. So I figured out real quick I better find something to do.
Yeah.
And but I like it down there. I mean, I like being around him, because he's cowboy, and he's cowboy to the bone. There's no other way around it. I mean,
you got to admit, 72 degrees in Montana today felt pretty good, though.
Oh man, I was doing that RV life. Had the TV going when you pulled up and picked me up. Had the awning out.
You did the outdoor TV. You know, my kids. We drove a motorhome last few years. I rodeoed, and my kids were little, and I lose track of what they remember. My 21-year-old daughter the other day said, I don't remember that, Dad. You don't remember the Moodomatic clown act, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And my kids didn't know what a car seat was till they were 4 years old, because it is nice to put your kid on the back of back bed. How is your kid's Smiley?
Oh,
I mean, I'll give you credit. That's a cute little kid.
yeah.
So you're traveling. Honestly, the PBR has been really great, but I discovered years later that when I quit rodeoing, it really broke that connection we had as a family traveling in an RV together. It's pretty cool, isn't it, to just have them all there?
That's another reason I started rodeoing again. You have never met a 19-month-old child who is more ate up with rodeo, bull riding, anything to do with cattle than that little boy right there. You pull in, he sees a gate, he sees pins, and he starts whooping his hot shot shaft. He takes everywhere with him around and starts saying, "Hey, bull, hey, bull, hey, bull." And I mean, it is just nonstop, 24/7. And I told Samantha, and you know, I don't tell her what I'm thinking. I just told her I entered some roads. We need to motor home. And the other day, watching him play around there, and I mean, he's nonstop wide open, crawling up the back pins, looking at them bulls, them horses, watching the rodeo. I said, that's one reason I did it. You know, the bull ridings are great, but you know, you've been there.
I know.
They have to go sit in the stands. Mm-hmm. You know, rodeos is a little more laid back, not so much security and things like that. He can go right there to the back pins, look at those bulls, and I mean, he loves it.
He could use a haircut.
Yeah, he could.
I like the long hair.
Yeah, I do too. He's got a good mullet going right now.
He does.
He does. I need to trim the front, just the front.
You need around the ears, create the JB Mauney, the
mullet,
the Mooresville waterfall.
That's
back there. He has. I think it can go either way when you become a dad for like bull riders. A lot of guys, I think it puts an added pressure on them. Like, now I got to ride to support this family. The other end of the spectrum is it's really put things in perspective that it's just bull riding. Which, do you have a way that's gone? Or is it kind of...
When my daughter was born, I did it first. You know, I was younger though.
Yeah.
And I put a lot of pressure on myself when my daughter was born that there's somebody else I got to take care of instead of JB. But you remember JB when she was born. I
remember JB then.
I was hanging off that cliff over there quite a bit.
Somebody had your belt looped.
And And, you know, I put so much pressure on myself to do good because I knew I had to support not only me, but her. It was, you know, before if I didn't ride for so long, and I was the only one that was affected by it. And once I realized, and that's what I've told a lot of people, you know, you got problems at home. When you leave that weekend to go to a bull riding, those problems will still be there Monday when you get home.
They'll hang with you while you're gone too.
Oh, yeah, they will. I said, but that's the mentality that you got to have. Mm-hmm. You know, I said, because when you crawl off in that buck and shoot, you can't be worrying about something else that's going on in this world or what you got to do or anything else. It's too dangerous a sport to not be 110% into it. And if you got something else on your mind, you better not go. And you know, when Jagger come around, boy, he is ate up with it. And McBride asked me, he said, "Why keep going? Why keep riding?" I said, "Man," I know he probably won't remember it when he gets older because I'm not going to ride long enough for him to get old enough to remember it. But just having him with me, having him around it.
I think pictures, just to have pictures for him later.
Yeah.
But
you know, and everywhere I go, people, that's the next bull rider right there. You want him to ride bulls? I said, I don't care what he does.
And I was going to ask you that. So he's eating up with it. Which can go any way. He could be a roper, a bull. He could play soccer and not really give a crap. So he comes to you when he's 5-6 years old. I picture you as one that steps back, not here you're going to ride a bull, you're going to ride a sheep, whatever. Are you good with him ever wanting to be a bull rider or
whatever he wants to do?
Yeah.
I was never pressured into it. Never, my entire life. But once I started, it was something I couldn't stop. They never made me do it. They told me any day I wanted to quit, we never had to go again. And that's kind of the way I am. I'm not going to pressure him into doing anything. You know, if he wants to ride bulls, I'll be there to help him 100%. If he wants to play the damn piano, as long as he does it with 110%, I'll be there at the piano recital listening to him.
A piano's okay.
I mean,
I always said that I have 2 girls, and of course I wanted boys. I was an athlete. I was more football, basketball, all that. But when I had girls, I went, it seems like with girls, the pressure's off a little bit.
Yeah.
Hey, if they don't play sports, it's a girl. They'll sing and play the piano.
Oh yeah.
But my girls are they rope every day. But whatever.
Hey, that's what I told him. I don't care what he does. Piano, baseball, basketball, plays a flute, whatever he wants to do, as long as he does it
really,
wholeheartedly.
the flute?
I don't care. I mean, wholeheartedly, 110%, I don't have a problem with it. If he wants to paint, if he wants to be an artist, as long as he does it with 110%, I'll back him 110.
What about you when, tell me.
I would rather not ride bulls because it's a rough way to make a living. But
I saw you stand up out of your lawn chair.
Oh, yeah.
What about you when you were 10 years old, 9 years old? What, if I was to look at JB Mauney as a little kid, 9, 10 years old, what were you? What were you already knowing you wanted to be a bull rider? Did you play other sports? Were you good in school? I never have heard.
I was good enough in school to pass because my mentality was, I didn't want to be there anyways. The rule at my house when I got home from school was I had to do my homework before I could watch bull riding tapes. I studied bull riding 24/7, 7 days a week. I mean, that's all I was worried about. I roped, I did everything else, but when I played baseball for 8 or 9 years. Pitched, played second base, shortstop. Had high school, they wanted me to play for them. I wouldn't do it because the rodeos were on the week, or the ball games were on the weekends. I was going to bull riding rodeos on the weekends, so I wouldn't do it. Right before high school, coach told me you got to pick or choose. I said, what do you mean? They said either rodeoing or baseball. I said, I'll see y'all later. I liked playing baseball, played football, and but rodeoing was where it was at. My parents, they kind of lean more towards the roping. And
you can rope. You're a pretty good roper.
My dad steer wrestled, so I jumped my first steer off a horse when I was 13. And my dad, and I am not built anywhere.
You are
near
not
like him.
built anything like your dad. But he's the full moon.
Yeah,
he's the full moony.
I'm the quarter moon. And finally, when I loved bulldogging, but I just wasn't built for it. And finally,
I did it too. Look at me.
When I was 17, I told him, I said, that's it. I said, I'm done bulldogging. He said, why not? I remember the last time I jumped a steer, we were at a rodeo in South Carolina. Them guys told me, JB, you got the best steer in the pen. Heck yeah. I run him. I'm like a 4.2, 4.5 or something. I'm thinking, I was bowed up. I didn't even place. And that's when I decided that.
Yeah.
I said, that's it. And I was spending all my money hauling them horses, and I said, I can take my rigging bag and put it in a little bitty car and save a lot of money going in bull riding.
Did you high school, like truly high school rodeo?
Freshman year, sophomore year I did. Went to the Nationals my freshman year in the bulldogging, the team roping, and bull riding. My sophomore year, I made the Nationals in the bareback riding, the calf roping, the team roping, the bulldogging, and the bull riding, but I didn't go.
Why didn't you go?
I knew I wasn't going to college. So I said, there's no reason for me to go. I'm not spending all that money to get all them horses and everything out there.
And let me tell you something. My girls made it to the National High School Rodeo. You better have some money saved up to go. Where was it? Where was it Nationals when you went as a freshman?
Was it Gallup?
Gallup.
I think Gallup.
The junior, I know the junior high was there. Or wait, Farmington.
That's
Farmington. Yeah, that was where the high school finals was.
Because, God dang, what year was that? I got out of school in 04.
So around 2000, right? Yeah. Huh. When you watch those bull riding tapes, you come home and did your homework. What tapes did you put in? Who'd you watch? I know McBride later helped you, but
I still you can go in that RV right now and look, there's a box sitting up there full of DVDs, and I got them. I've got NFR tapes from the 70s and 80s, and I've got NFR tapes and PBR tapes from the early 90s. Past about 97, I don't watch them. I watch the old school ones.
What? Why? What's the difference? Why do you not watch the
cowboy mentality? I don't know. That's the ones I like, and I watch them over and over and over. I watched Lane Frost Bull Talk every day of my life when, once I got older and I was living by myself, everybody thinks that all I did to learn how to ride bulls and be good at riding bulls was stand on a damn ball. But I would stand on that ball and watch bull riding tapes. When I didn't have anything to do, all my buddies around the house were working or whatever they were doing, and like I was talking earlier, that part about them saying not working out, they don't see what I do during the day.
So that was, we can't have a conversation without that. People say, yeah, there's McBride and JB. They don't work out. Well, there's a difference. Okay, there's a different kind. The Brazilians, most of them go to whatever the place is indicated. There's a big gym, whatever. That's fine.
Each to his own.
Each to his own. But you look at you, there's some working out there. For one, standing on the ball, balance, nobody's out muscling a bull. That's what people misinterpret. It's here.
Oh, yeah. It's like a dance. They move, you got to follow them. You can't make them do what you want them to do. And, that's one thing I always said. I said, if I got to go to a gym to ride bulls, that means I ain't working hard enough at home. And you can ask my wife, and Jagger's just like me. I can't stay inside very long. I'm up usually before daylight every morning, and no telling what time I'm going to go to bed. A couple of them guys that was rodeoing, I asked them the other night, they were talking, said something, and they were asking about how old I was. I said, well, how old are y'all? One of them was 24, the other one was 25. And they said, how are you, JB? I said, 33. And, we stayed up till 2:30 in the morning sitting around drinking beer.
Visiting around the campfire.
Yeah. And, next day they get up about 1 o'clock and they come out of their little deal over there. And they said, time did you get up this morning? I said, about 6:45. They said, really? I said, I'm telling you, you waiting on me, you're late.
Here, I think that there's guys that don't live a real active everyday lifestyle, but then go for 2 hours and really work hard at the gym. I believe that if you live an active lifestyle and work out in the heat and really get up early, your mind's focused the whole day.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of it's here. You're living an active lifestyle. Your muscles are working. It's a balance there. I think an active lifestyle does as much as anything.
I think a guy told me one time there's a difference between a guy that works out and a working man.
Yeah.
There's a difference. And that's what I do every day. Whether I'm helping Phil or whether I'm doing stuff on my own, I'm working. I got cows, I got bulls, I have horses. I said, I'm always doing something.
I remember sitting somewhere with Justin McBride when he was still riding, winning a world title. And he says, man, and it might have been in a lobby of a hotel at midnight.
Campfire.
Around a campfire. That's our new thing now. And he said, man, let me tell you something. All those guys, Adriano, Marchi, he was listening. They go to that gym, get all muscled up, and this little skinny guy's kicking their ass. He said, and it was joking. McBride, he likes joking. Everybody. Yeah. But he's right. He was right. That's he true. Was confident.
And you know how many people I've had tell me I need to quit smoking? I don't go to a gym. I don't work. I'm same mentality McBride had when he was younger, except I smoke cigarettes. And that was one other thing I'd tell people. I said, them people tell me I need to quit all that. And I said, and then I hear I win them bull ridings, and I sit back and think, I don't eat healthy. I drink Cokes. I drink beer. I drink whiskey. I smoke cigarettes all damn day long, and I'm still whipping their asses. I never said that nothing, but I always thought about it. I said, I'd like to tell them that, when somebody would say something about it. But
is it kind of shifting gears a little? Isn't it something when you and I have visited about doing media stuff, and as we get older, you got to sort it out. And I've seen you a little on social media, so you tell me, I don't care. I don't care what they say. But we all care.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it funny how this is my job? You have your job. When we do the jobs we do, that people really feel they have the ability to chime in and tell us about our job. The retiring thing.
Oh.
JB, why don't you just retire? You're washed up. What is the fact you want to keep riding bulls have to do with them? But you know what? That's also people who have never I'll put it this way. I use Brett Favre as my example every time. He took heat because he didn't just retire, Favre, just retire. The people who haven't had this kind of passion to compete and win and the love don't get it, do they?
No.
And what's it hurting them?
I mean, if I want to kill myself, let me do it. You know, I mean, that's just, I beat my body all to pieces. Everybody says, well, you got a family, you got a child, everything like that. And my first go-to is, that's exactly what I want them to remember me by. When it going got tough, I gave up. When I'm done riding bulls, I'll decide that. Nobody else will. But I'll look on there every once in a while, and I'll read them comments, and I'll say something smart-ass back to them, you know, just to fire them up and get them started.
Here's what I've discovered. I'll look just for the sake of this stuff and some things I do. I'll get on a PBR post and read the comments, and my name will come up.
Yeah.
Well, I'll chime in and comment, you know, maybe you should, and I'll try to be polite. They're more thrilled that I get on and respond. So I always laugh when they say that JB's old worn out, he should retire. And you say, I'll retire when I want. And you know, that person's going, oh, I hate JB, but I love him.
Yeah. That retiring part, it gets to me every time. That's when, you know, you see a guy get hurt, but, you know, Samantha, she always asks, why don't she say anything? There's older guys that ride. I said, yeah, but how many of them were around as long as I've been? Mm-hmm. They've watched me grow from the time I was pretty much 18 years old till now.
Yeah.
And they've watched every hang up, every stomping, every bone broke that I've watched, and they think, well, he needs to give it up. But I feel better now than I have in 10 years probably.
Yeah.
And except if I sleep on that mattress.
Your new mattress in your RV. Yeah, geez, hurts your hips.
We got to do that one.
You know, JW Hart was like, I can't believe I'm older than JW Hart, but it's the same thing. JW said one time how old he was, and Cody Lambert, I said something. That all the older he is? He said, he'd been making a living riding bulls since he was 15 years old. That's how I was. He's been around for the guys that have been around for so long. You got Joao Ricardo Vieira. I'll use him as I think he's 37, 36, 37. But to us, he showed up when he was 30.
Yeah.
But we've seen you.
From the time I could buy a PBR permit till now.
Yeah.
15 years.
I watched, there was a video floating around, probably on Mooney Monday.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Thanks.
The first qualified ride at a PBR, I think it was Portland, Oregon.
Portland.
You and Brian Cantor, weren't you both? Yeah. You guys were there together.
Yeah. Godfather of Chad Burgers.
Oh, you were just a tot.
Oh, yeah.
Just baby-faced. Probably didn't even smoke. I bet you smoked.
Oh, I smoked, man. I've been smoking my whole life.
Yeah. That's what people...
When they told me that I was 14, 15 years old, my dad told me, he said, we don't have the money pay for you to do this. So if you want to ride bulls and rodeo, you got to get a job. So once I started getting a job and I supported myself, I did what I wanted to. And unfortunately, some of it was smoking, I guess.
But I mean, I'm not condoning it. I'm not a smoker, but I don't care because it's just you.
Yeah.
Let me say this.
And I'm pretty polite about it. Like I don't smoke in people's cars, you know.
Listen, if I didn't know you, I wouldn't know you smoked.
I know.
Those are the best kind. But there's the PBR who does a great job promoting things. There's a lot of turnover in the organization. So a new PR guy will come. Oh my God. Look at JB Mauney. Holy. So look at this. This is what America, this is a guy. And we're all going, that's just JB. Yeah, that's it.
Been that way
there's
my whole life.
Mooney Monday. There's this. And the big thing is nobody's as tough. Oh my God. Nobody's as tough. I mean, to me, is your pain tolerance more than anybody else? Probably. You and Frank Newsom? Probably. Yeah. I do know this because I share a locker room with Frank Newsom and I have for years. He hates a couple things. He hates when you say, are you okay? And he hates hearing about how tough he is.
Oh, yeah.
Are you the same? To me, it's just you. That's just JB.
Yeah.
Leave it. Back off.
I remember I walked out of the arena at Vegas one year and a bull flipped over on top of him, and I mean, smashed me all to pieces. And I was mad because I got bucked off. I was hurting, and I walk out, and Tandy, he's trying to stop me, and I'm shrugging him off. So I can't remember who was standing there, and they said, man, you're tougher than John Wayne's boots. I said, yeah, and I'm about tired of proving it, too. I just kept walking. I was like, man, I would rather step off every bull on my feet and walk out of that arena like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, it's not. It's almost gets to a point where people think that's in football. In football, guys are tough because they hit somebody else hard, so they can live up to it. Bull riding, if you're known for being that tough, that means you've been in way too damn many wrecks.
Yeah, a lot of wrecks. But I was taught to be that way. When I was little, it was always, if you're hurt bad enough, you need to go to the doctor. You don't need to ride next weekend. So I wouldn't say nothing. The older I got and the people I hung around, McBride and them, they were tough. And, it was just cowboy way. Like, yeah, you get hurt, you get up, you walk out of that arena. You can lay in the back and cry all you want to, but you don't do it out there in that arena. Yeah. And that's how I've always been. I don't know why. And people don't understand how you deal with all that pain and getting hurt. You get used to it after a while. Like, it's normal. That's why one reason I won't go to a chiropractor or anybody like that. If I go there, yeah, I'll feel good. They'll put everything all lined back up, my hips and everything will be all lined back up. Boy, I'll feel good till I get on the next bull I get on. And then it's all out of whack and it hurts even worse than when before.
Because if a guy can do that and realign you, I always say that, this is terrible, I'll probably take heat for this. I always say that about horse chiropractors. If I as a man can grab a horse and go, oh, popped him back in, it's going to come back. It's going to come back out.
Yeah.
So.
And that's what Samantha always asks, why don't you go get worked on, things like that? And I said, well, if I leave it alone, I'm used to it. It's no different. I said, if I go and get everything lined back up for the couple of days before I get on the next week, I feel great. And then that first bull I get on, it's all back out of whack and it hurts even worse.
Keep it. Like if you had to take a cold shower every morning, don't take a hot one. It'll screw up then you're crave that. I guess the word I always use when people ask is polarizing. It's weird. I felt like McBride was polarizing, and it's amazing now because the year he retired, I remember, I don't know if you remember, McBride and Adriano retired the same year.
Yep.
And the people were like, well, we hate to see him go, but McBride could learn something about how to treat people from Adriano. And Adriano was a good guy. That's not the point. And I remember thinking, if you really knew Justin McBride, that guy would drop everything to help you. And I don't know what it is. It's greatness. It's swagger. It's whatever it is. Why are you so, you're a love you or hate you. Nobody's like, oh, JB, he's pretty good. Oh yeah, JB. That never happens. Nope. It's either, JB Mauney or that's a bitch. God, I guess I kind of get it because I've been around a while, but I've never really found a reason to not like you.
It's weird how TV does that to people.
And we are in the entertainment business, so we need a villain.
And it's weird. People that I've never met a day in my life come up to an autograph and I'll sign it, and they'll just start talking to me, and I'll just talk right back to them, just carry on a conversation like a normal person would. Mm-hmm. And when they get done, they're like, until today, I hated you, and I'm like, why? Because of TV. We thought you were cocky. We thought you were this. And same thing I always use. There's a difference between confident and cocky.
Completely.
I've never told anybody I was going to do anything, but by God, I expected myself to do it. Mm-hmm. And there's a difference there. And, and it's crazy how TV makes you look one way. And then when they meet you in person, they're like, oh, man, you're a totally different person.
You're not as big a turd as we thought you were.
You're just a normal person.
Yeah, but you know where it started? You were, I think, the first guy that they followed down the hall.
Oh, yeah.
And you threw your rope down the hall and kicked something.
I got
and that was
more flack out of that.
That's minor nowadays.
Oh, I know. Those people I call more slack off of that. You need to quit pitching a fit like a little kid. And I'd always tell them, all right, you go home, You take $40,000 of your money and you go put it on black or red on the roulette wheel, lose it, and tell me you're not going to be mad. Well, that's different. I said, no, it's not different. It's what I do for a living. When I get bucked off, it's something I did that caused it. So I'm mad at myself. I'm not mad at anybody else, nobody else, not judges, not the bull, nobody, myself.
Yeah.
And once I'd explain it to them, then they'd kind of, well, okay. But, you know, I got a little better the older I got about hiding it. There's bad. Shit still gets tore up, I promise you. I promise you.
Well,
just the camera doesn't see it.
Our friend Jerome Robinson, who's a Hall of Famer and was a great bull rider, now in the arena with us. He's a whole nother podcast, that guy.
Oh, yeah.
But you know what he said the first couple times that happened? Everybody was, why do they show it? Why do the TV cameras follow him down the hall? They should, well, why? And Jerome said, you know, JB's taking heat. We all did it. There was just never TV cameras.
Yeah. You know, I always told people, they said, why don't you smile when you get bucked off? I said, what do you mean? They said, you need to be a good loser. I said, you show me a good loser and I'll show you a loser.
Yeah.
I mean, I prided on myself on my bull riding, and that's all I've ever did my entire life. So I wanted to win. And when I didn't, I was pissed about it, you know. And I'm not talking win events. I'm talking about winning against the bull. If I didn't ride, that's not a win to me.
You can only, really in bull riding,
only thing
you're not competing. I'm not competing against you. You're not, you know, they create, I will say.
Oh, they start drama.
I will say the greatest not just greatest world finals, one of the greatest sporting events I've been to was here. It was you and Silvano. And I wish people could go back to that. And it was, who came in number one? He did or you did?
Silvano did, because I pretty much had to ride every bull I got on to win it.
So they came, we'd always buck them in order, and he was last, and you were second to last. So the first couple nights, these guys in here, I don't know if they know this either. I get goosebumps. See, I get goosebumps thinking about it. I was in Thomas and Mack. The first couple nights, you'd come out and ride your bull, and them crowded cheer. Next up, Silvano Alves. And there isn't any more, and I don't know what happened. Remember the one whole section was Brazilians, and they'd stand up and they'd start like it was a soccer game.
Yeah.
And by about the third night, when it got to you, we should talk about that.
Yeah.
Everybody in the arena would stand up and they all started bringing American flags. Mm-hmm. And there was nothing wrong with that. It was and by the last night, I do get goosebumps. I mean, it was the greatest thing I've ever seen. And they created a rivalry, but we need rivalries.
You know, they tried to get me to say something bad about him.
Yeah.
You know, every time they do interviews, they would always try to talk about the way he didn't take re-rides and this and that. And I said, look, it's not my style, but each to his own. It's an individual sport.
Yeah. It was so great. It was
fun.
It was the greatest world finals ever. I'm going to say it.
That's why I always tell him, I said, that's what you got bulls for. When you get down, guy that rides as good as Silvano does, and especially when he was winning those world titles and you're right there neck and neck with him, when you crawl off in that bucking shoes, you better mean business.
That's the advantage. That I will say, I love the National Finals Rodeo. I had a great career in rodeo, still involved. That's what the National Finals Rodeo is missing, because they're in such a hurry to finish. Oh, yeah. There's no drama. And we're doing a TV show. So when it gets that top 5 at the World Finals, we just take all the time we need. Slow down. Let the story build. We saw it last year.
Oh, I know. I can't stand them when they say, JB, you're next, but there's a 3.5 minute break right before you're
or they're saying, you know what they do a lot of times? A lot of times they'll say, hold on.
Yep.
And they'll say in my ear, they got a 1.5-minute little feature they're running on TV. And we take heat sometimes, long TV commercial. But at the World Finals, man, it comes. We saw it with Jose and Jess last year.
Yep.
We're in the entertainment business.
That's what McBride and them did a deal with me, and they were asking me about Jose and Jess's rivalry and all this and how number one they were talking. And I was like, man, you guys are talking like I'm retired.
Yeah, they're asking you about the other guys. I was
like, look, I'm just hurt. I'm coming back. I mean, yeah, that's a good rivalry, but when I show up, I'm there to kick their asses too.
Yeah.
And, you know, McBride said something on TV the other day, got me fired up. real fired up. He said, I don't think we'll see him ride the rank bulls like we used to when he won his world titles. And I turned around and I told my wife, I said, they better look the hell out.
Yeah.
Because that's all it takes. You say something like that, and I don't know.
Well, I don't think you can. No. See, I'm trying to get you fired up.
It's a trigger. There's a trigger in me somewhere that's like the pride deal. I'm like, okay, all right.
You know what? Since I'm an 80s guy, on the movie Back to the Future, Marty McFly, he hated being called a chicken. Mm-hmm. That set him off. That's why he punched Biff. Yeah. There you go.
Same kind of deal.
All of this says, and something I had written down, I run into this a lot. I do a certain job a certain way, and I'm in front of people. And sometimes I've even said it out loud. You don't really know me.
Oh, yeah.
You think you know me. I've even said sometimes with what the image people have created about JB, it's almost like you're playing a character.
Oh, yeah.
In a way. And you got to admit, sometimes you play it up.
Oh, yeah. You know, there's been times I walked up on that short cage to pick a bull, and I'm thinking, man, that's an easy one. And they're like, oh, you're going to pick Bushwhacker? And I'm like, yeah.
Damn it. And then then you're a hero because, okay, breaking news, JB never wanted to pick Bushwhacker. I mean, it's inherent in you that you picked the Rangus bull, but you felt like you had to live up to this.
Sometimes, you know, because there's plenty of times I was hurting bad enough to where I thought, man, I should probably just pick a bull. I know I can ride. And then I'd get up there and I was like, I can't do it. Dang it. It cost me a lot of money, but.
See, you know what? You're like Shrek. Layers. You have layers. Donkey. Oh, yeah. I'm like an onion. I have layers.
So that's funny. Dalen Swearinger and Andrew Alves come to the house before the team deal. And I took them to get on some practice bulls and stuff and got them on a drop barrel and stuff. And, you know, that when they interviewed Dalen and Andrew and them, and Kate asked them about coming to the house and getting on bulls, and they said, well, he kind of keeps it short and sweet. And then Andrew said, but I will tell you one thing. He said, it is crazy the amount of stuff that guy knows about bull riding, and he never says a word. Huh. And Andrew asked me, he said, why don't you tell people? I said, they don't ask. I said, I'm not going to say.
Unsolicited advice is not.
I'm not going to tell a man his business unless he asks me. And just little things I switched with, like Dalen, just little bitty stuff, just tweaking on them. And they're like, man, that makes a lot of sense. I'm like, that's all I've ever studied.
And Dalen Swearinger said, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
I like Dalen.
I do too.
He's a good kid. He is nowhere near like I was when I was his age.
And Andrew's a good kid too. Yeah, there's some good young guys. Really, there as far as quality of bull riders, there's some really good. You know, I wish Dalton Castle. The groin thing is a tough one. Mason Taylor, Andrew Alves, Dalen Swearinger. There's some guys. Colton Jesse, a little taller kind of a guy. So they're pretty good hands.
Really good hands.
Coming up. So quickly, because these are questions I get asked all the time, every few weeks. Even on my live broadcast where people ask. Everybody always asks. You know the great big question. Who's the best bull rider ever? You're out of the conversation. As far as you've seen or what you watch bull riding more than anybody. Who's the best bull rider ever?
That I've seen in person?
Okay, go with who you've seen in person.
Brian Cantor.
Brian Cantor. So you're not going longevity, because you were with Brian Cantor when he was young.
Yeah. Me and that guy traveled around for probably 2 or 3 years before we showed up in the PBR.
Yeah.
And I was always sucking hind tit. We'll put it that way. Mm-hmm. It was first and second everywhere, and I was always second. Mm-hmm. Probably the bull ridingest individual I ever laid eyes on and watched him in person. We got on bull, and it wasn't like you were just going on the weekends. Like, we got on bulls every day of our life. Every day. 7 days a week, we got on bulls, whether it was practice pens, open bull ridings, rodeos, didn't matter. We got on bulls 7 days a week. And I think in a whole year's time, I watched him get bucked off 5 bulls one year.
Brian was small. I watched Jess Lockwood High School rodeo because he was with my girls, and people come to me and say, he's the next PBR star. And I don't know if you know this, but Jess has grown 5-6 inches. He was tiny.
Yeah.
And I said, he's got to grow 5 inches and gain 30 pounds. or he's going to get busted in half. Brian Cantor's body couldn't hold up.
Couldn't hold up. I figured once he started getting hurt, it would snowball on him, and it did. But before then, I mean, it was. I
toted him around. He was funny.
That was the best advice my father ever gave to me, because me and Brian didn't really see eye to eye when we first met. Because I'd been going. Brian didn't start, but Brian's the type like wakeboarding, anything he tried, snowboarding, like he just right off the bat, just God-given talent, just in anything he did. Me, on the other hand, I'd wreck out and wipe out and drag and do everything like that. Well, you know, when he started, we kind of started going to the same rodeos. It was kind of who was the bigger fish, you know. And I was thinking, who's this little guy? And he was so shy and timid, he wouldn't talk. So it come off like he just thought he was a bat. You know, he's just standing over, wouldn't say nothing.
He wouldn't stand like that.
Yeah.
He was, yeah.
And I'm thinking, who's this kid? And, you know, my dad told me, he said, look, when you start going, you only travel as good with guys as good as you or better, because you're only as good as the guys that you go with. And I got to watch him ride, and I was thinking, damn, my little son gonna ride, but he's an asshole. And so finally one day I just hit him up, and I was like, hey, you want to go some bull ridings? And he's like, yeah. And from then on, it was me and him everywhere we went. We didn't hardly ever ask anybody else to go with us until we got into PBR.
But he was a cocky little fart. Later, he was.
Man,
God,
you want to talk about night and day?
But
you
funny.
want to talk about night and day? When it was me and him in that truck driving 20 hours, totally different person.
Yeah.
Like, there's a few times, like, I snatched him up and was threatening to whoop him because the way he was acting. Like, I always called it the little big man syndrome. It's just me and him. He's a good guy. We get around a group of people, and he had to be Billy Badass. And, like, I'm like, just shut up,
That's
man.
true.
Like,
so true.
And I loved him like a brother, but, man, there was a couple of times I wanted to just whoop him.
We did Enterprise. Remember, we were on Team Enterprise for a while together, and I felt like I was toting around an 8th grader. Come here, Brian. We got to go here. We got to go. And he'd stick his chest out. So that's in person, Brian Cantor. What about, like, when people think of world champions, guys like the ones we know? Who do you think?
I always go old school with it, but you know, I watched Jerome because he lived right there.
Jerome Davis.
Jerome Davis. I watched him because I grew up right there by him. Shivers was a badass. You know, you can't. All of them are. I mean, you strap that gold buckle on, you're the best bull rider in the world.
You know, my answer always is, and I don't know if it was the way he treated me, the friend he's become, the situations he was in that he rose to the occasion. I always say Justin McBride.
Yeah.
In my career doing rodeos, PBR, that guy stands out in my head.
He's right there at the top because I'm old enough, I was able to be in the locker room with him. I watched what he did, how he did it, and that made it even more badass than watching it on TV because, I mean, he was all cowboy all the time.
Well, I will say, as far as moments, you're right up there. People say, what's the best bull ride you've ever seen? And it was the moment, it was the energy. JB Mauney on Pearl Harbor in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Oh yeah.
Your elbow, your hand went numb in the long round and couldn't get on your bull. It was 15-15. JB's getting on. Yeah, JB's getting on. So it was, again, it was one of those freaking stupid JB Mauney moments. You do it on purpose. To this day, JB Mauney on Pearl Harbor. Now, Jose on Chiseled the other day, right up there. But it was the moment.
The way it happened was, the atmosphere. I did finally figure out what was wrong with that elbow. Just when Tandy released me from my shoulder, I told him when I went in, I said, x-ray this elbow while you're at it. He x-rayed it, and I got 2 pieces of bone floating around in there. That's why it goes numb, because they get hung in a certain spot, and it pushes on nerves or something, I guess. And I said, I've been wondering that for a while now.
So in person, through your career, best bull ride you ever saw?
Best bull ride.
I know, I did. And it's hard for me. I pick you because of the moment, but
I don't know. McBride riding Chicken on the Chain was pretty good. Mike White on Troubadour at Tulsa that year was really good. I don't know. There's quite a few of them. I can't just pick one because I pick them apart. You know, like
I
I
understand.
watch him back in slow motion, see what the guy would, even though he rode him in, same way with me. Like when I get home, when I rode Pearl Harbor, I got home, the first thing I did was picked apart what I could have did better, what I was doing wrong and even though I rode him, and, you know, I always pick it apart. That's, you're always learning.
I'm almost done with you, but okay, here's the kind of the JB, we talk about the life you led and smoke cigarettes and I did this. Anything when you look back on your career, okay, man, I wish I would have done such and such different. And I'm not saying you got any regrets. I mean, is there a path you would have taken a little different than what you did?
Not a damn thing.
There you go. So that again,
you know, I've thought about it because there's been times I could have won a lot more money than I did. Probably won a world title.
I think you could have won a couple more world titles. Yeah, I do.
But the way I look at it is I did it the way I wanted to and how I wanted to, and nobody can ever take that away from me.
I have, we all do things in life, but I'm a believer that everything that does happen shapes.
Oh, yeah.
It's all a butterfly effect. You might not have that little blonde kid right now.
I mean,
you did something different.
And that's what I always tell people. Do you think, would you change it to when you pick Bushwhacker all the time? I said, no. Or all them ranked bulls when you got bucked off because you win the events? No. And they said, why? I said, because I did it the way I wanted to. And as long as I do it the way I want to, I can live with it. Whether I win, lose, or draw, as long as I try, I can live with it. I said, if I'd have went, and my biggest thing was if I'd have picked one I knew I could have rode, I'd probably fell off the son of a bitch anyways. Cause
yeah, probably. Actually, I understand that.
My motor don't get to running. Like if I know, you'll be 88 on this one, 86 on this one, and my motor don't get to running. But you run a Bushwhacker or Pearl Harbor in there, and you're like, man, you better be on it. Mm-hmm. And then you don't have time to think. That's the problem. As long as I keep my head out of my way, I'm good to go.
Yeah. Well, I will say this about you, and we talk on here about how I wrap things up, and I've done 21 world finals. I mentioned that before, and through my entire career, the way I look at it, we have done a good job. The PBR has taken rodeo, bull riding, Western sports and made it a TV show. Yeah. We create drama, we create rivalries, we create the villain, all of it. And I look back on when I first started, and there was some stars. There was Jim Sharp and Tuff Edelman and Cody Lambert and Ted Noose and Aaron Seamus. And then you got Justin McBride and Ross Coleman and all those guys. And they were bull riders. But as time has gone, we've created all these characters. And we have certain people, and this is how I put it, we have certain people in this organization, in the sport, that get clicks. Now it's social media, but it's a good way to put it. They get clicks. Jess Lockwood is one. Jose Vitor Leme is one. The PBR has told me anytime that they post anything on their social media with JB Mauney's name on it, it gets twice the clicks of anything else.
I thought you were going to refer to me as Superman or something.
No. But I will say, and you know what I always say about those people? When a guy gets hurt, man, Jess got hurt 6 months ago and tore his hamstring. I said, that sucks. He's good for business. Right. I always say he's good for business. If Sage Kimsey decided to go to the PBR, he'd be good for business. And I will say this, I'll let you go, but in all the years I've been here, and you've been here a lot of them, you're as good for business as any guy that we've ever had. And I got to know, and then you're done. I got to know, bad to the bone. We've created, when we don't say a word, when it's your turn, we step out, and do you hear the song? Does it get your blood flowing? And where did that come from?
Heck yeah, I hear the song, because Jerome will look at me and say, hey, don't start till your song starts playing.
So they tell you that.
Oh, yeah. Like I'll be sitting there ready to get on my bull, and Jerome will look at me, he's like, when the song starts. I'm like,
so who did it? Who came up with that?
I have no idea. No clue.
Somebody's going to step forward.
Because they played a lot of screwed up songs for me, some bad songs when I was younger. And then somebody it all of a sudden started playing Bad to Bone, and it's stuck. And
just bad. That's Jay.
It says it right there on the lip. On the inside.
Just bad?
Just bad.
Just bad
movie.
movie.
I did a lot of questionable things when I was younger.
Well, you may think JB stands for stands for just bad, but I know it stands for James Burton Mooney.
That's why I named my son Jagger Briggs.
Little JB.
So I wasn't going to name him James Burton. Poor guy.
Well, listen, I know people think you don't do a lot of this, but I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. And anytime. I'll do it. I'll do it for my friends.
So I'm your friend.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, look.
You know, hey, I will say this. People don't, when I ask if people really know you, and this will mean more people on video, but I brought this here to put on the wall or whatever. People should know, this will embarrass you, probably. I'll come in, and this picture came from, I walked into my locker room, and on my chair in the locker room, that picture was sitting there. You didn't say anything. You didn't do anything. It's you and me. And I grabbed you. I remember that. I grabbed you and said, let's get a picture. You had just ridden a bull. And we looked and thumbs up to the camera. And you bought that picture from Andy Watson. It says, to Flint, thanks for the support, JB Mauney. And it was sitting on my chair. And when I say people don't really know you, they don't know that you do stuff like that.
Tater Porter told me a long time ago, he said, buy every picture you can. I said, why? He goes, because this don't last forever. So anytime I see a picture like that, it'd be cool, not just for me, for someone else, like, you know, Frank, Shorty, Jesse, Webster. Anytime, Joe B, there ain't probably no telling how many pictures Joe B's got of me, him saving me. But anytime there's a cool picture like that, I'll buy it from Andy, and I'll sign it and give it to them guys. I gave 3 of them to Webster the other week.
So in that front pocket under that Marlboro pack, there's a heart in there.
Somewhere.
It's
just deep down in there. I just don't show it.
Yeah, I know. JB Mauney, 2-time world champ. This is a good one. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
I'll give you a ride back to the campfire.
I appreciate it because I've been drinking this beer.
JB Mauney, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Join us on the next episode, According to Flint. Thanks, buddy.
Yes, sir.